I just want to make sure this live stream, this review is working. Hit that like button, leave a comment. Please subscribe to my channel. This is Jacob Cat 2024. We're going to talk about Friday Night Smackdown, the Smackdown after Mania, with WrestleMania Fallout. And we're going to talk about the WWE releases and the news and rumors. I might talk a little bit about AEW. Alright, so hit that like button, enjoy this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Let me know in the comment section below if y'all want to see more. SmackDown jumping off the air. SmackDown kind of sucked. The show was terrible. The only thing to talk about is the new release, the WWE releases. A lot of superstars got released, a lot of budget cuts. Now we are going to get into SmackDown here. SmackDown sucked. It wasn't a good show. I thought Monday Night Raw was a little bit better, not perfect. But based on what we saw on SmackDown tonight, after the first hour, nothing was important. Same old shit. The way how the show started out, the show opened up with. I just want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by PlayStation. It's sponsored by my favorite YouTubers and podcasters, Solomon Walter Sound Off, JD from New York, Good Artwork Commentaries, Fight for Pro Wrestling, and other YouTubers that I know of. I'm not going to talk about AEW right now. I'm only going to talk about SmackDown tonight. The show kicked off with Jacob Fatu. He kicked Tama Tonga. So Jacob Fatu came out, addressed Roman Reigns, then the Uso came out, then the MST came out. I'm like, man, are we having the Bloodline story? Now, this whole segment that they had to open the show, it was set up a main event match with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Yeah, those two feud again. Now, Tama Tonga interrupted Solo, and then Jacob kicked Tama Tonga. We did get Tiffany Stratton, the first match on the show. Tiffany Stratton defeated Julia to win the Women's U.S. title. So Tiffany's in the mid-card. She's now the Women's U.S. champion. Good for her. Match was alright. Every time Tiffany does something, she'll be in the mid-card. She's already been the world champion last year. That's in the mid-card. Hopefully the title is defended on pay-per-view and she does something with it. Now we got Brie Bella and Paige. Paige came back. Welcome back, Paige. They're tag team champions. They came out. They went interrupted by Charlotte and Alexa. Then they had an impromptu match tonight. We got the debut of Fatal Influence. JC Jane and her two partners. They came out. They brawled and called it match in the DQ. So they're clearly setting up the Fatal Influence to be the most dominant faction on SmackDown. A woman fashion. First they set up the tag team titles. Then later on in the show they came out and interrupted Rhea Ripley, and Rhea challenged JC Jane to a impromptu match tonight. Match was pretty good. It ended in a DQ. Rhea suffered from a 3-on-1 match. No came out. That was the only debut, was Fatal Influence. Next week they said that Ricky Saint will be making his debut on SmackDown. Joe Henry can make a debut in a concert on Raw next week. Ricky Saint will be on SmackDown next week. I don't know why he could be next week. He could have confronted Cody Rhodes. Because Cody Rhodes came out here and cut a pretty straightforward promo, and that was it. Because there was no Randy Orton tonight. I think he took the week off. Cody Rhodes had a black eye still because he sold the punt real good. Cody Rhodes came out. Cody Rhodes came out and said to Randy Orton, "I'm easy to find and hard to beat." I'm pretty sure we're going to get Randy Orton next week, and then we'll probably get Orton and Cody at Backlash, probably. Now, for the other matches, which were filler, R-Truth and Damian Priest versus the MSTs, they defeated Tama Tonga and Jason Mateo. We also got Danhausen invade The Miz's house. Danhausen versus The Miz in a pretty quick match. It is the first time Danhausen actually wrestled, because we haven't seen him wrestling that much. And they've been short matches. They've been pretty quick. He won with a roll up, and then he left. Kit Wilson was involved, but he didn't really do much. Danhausen beat The Miz. That's about it. We did get Trick Williams and Lil Yachty. Sami Zayn was the guy in the gingerbread outfit. Came out from behind, ambushed him. He got a little bit booed. Some people were booing him. There was no Carmelo Hayes, no new feud. Why didn't Royce Key came out and interrupted, or Carmelo Hayes? Sami Zayn, why are you doing that again? Give him the same thing. Sami Zayn might well turn heel because people are turning against him. Some people were booing him at WrestleMania. I think his babyface took up on his core. He should do something, change something, do something new. I want to see Sami and Trick again. And the match for sure, I wasn't given that much time. I don't know what Carmelo Hayes put on the show tonight. I hope he don't get released. I don't know what's going on with him. And then in the main event, Fatu and Solo, whatever. Fatu got the win. He beat Solo. And Fatu wins. He beat up the rest of the MSTs. He got there down with the Usos. Can't wait to see what happens on Raw. Alright, now let's go into some of the podcasters that I want to show y'all.
Right now it's saying order me because I'm half off. Also, I can talk.
At Wayfair, delivery and setup can be as easy as, well, doing nothing.
Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, and she had a bubbly personality. I cannot tell you why she's gone. I can only think they looked at the women's roster and they just found a healthy amount.
Now, as for the WWE budget cut and the releases tonight, a lot of people got released today. Kairi Sane, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, Uncle Howdy, otherwise known as Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Santos Escobar, The Mosley Machine Gun, Dexter Loomis. Who else?
Ahead of her that they wanted
Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, Andre Chase from NXT, Zoe Stark, who was out with an injury for over a year, Alba Fire, who was part of the Secret Service, and I think the other 8 were some NXT stars that I don't know. Tay-May Steele, Serena Martin, Tyson, Tariq, Chris Island, Malik Blade. I think he was on NXT. London, and I did put other NXT guys. I don't know. They might have been indicated when we were in out of our metro system. Yeah. So yeah. So those were the releases and the budget cut. A lot of people. There were a lot of people last year who got released that we were surprised to see. I'm surprised the Y6 got released after being an incredible figure on SmackDown. Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, I'm surprised they got released. Aleister Black, this is now the second time he got released. And this time made no sense. Actually, I don't think Aleister Black was doing anything on SmackDown besides having good matches. He had some whatever feud. He had a feud with Damian Priest. It went nowhere. But the Wyatt Six, I'm surprised, after building up the Wyatt Six for the past 2 years to honor Bray Wyatt's legacy and his dream to build up the Wyatt Six. But after for a while, I think fans got tired of it. Andre Chase from NXT, he wasn't really doing much. Alba Fire, who part of the Secret Service, but there's no more Secret Service. Piper Niven, is she released? I forgot. Or is she hurt? I don't know. But it's just Chelsea Green. She's not doing anything really. Alba Fire got released. Aladon got released last year because he wasn't doing anything. Now Alba Fire got released. Santos Escobar hasn't been used on SmackDown. He was on the AAA shows, having matches and feuds. He wasn't doing anything. Oh my God, that must happen. Pretty much no more. They were much dead. Humberto and what's his name? Angel Garza not really doing anything. Alyssa Lopez not doing anything. Santos was on the other show. I think only half of those releases are superstars that we were surprised about and cared about. But the other one was some entity or environmental system, probably in Catering.
OMG.
God damn it.
Fire Zelina and Kyrie, I believe that. But
Certainly feel like, there's a lot more
A lot of people got released.
or on the subscriber end of Twitter or something like that. We never put names behind paywalls for the releases because I said it's kind of gross. Don't want to do that. I understand that a lot of people want a peripheral villain that didn't reinvent himself as much as realized his full potential. JC Jane and Fatal Influence on Smackdown, but that's not all, because there was a vignette for Blake Monroe, the former Mariah May, on her way to SmackDown. She's coming soon.
I don't know why they didn't show up tonight. The only debut was the Fatal Influence that came out tonight, and they came out and they're going after the tag team title. JC Jane going after Rhea Ripley. That was it. That was the only debut. And then Ricky Saints, they're coming to make a debut next week. I know I coming this week. Joe Henry coming along next week.
Next week, we are getting the debut of Ricky Saints, formerly Ricky Starks in AEW. He is going to be on SmackDown next week. So yeah, we got a lot of call-ups, and of course, when there's additions, ultimately there have to be subtractions, and we'll get to that again in just a few moments. Main event time. We had, well, actually, wait a minute. Before that, we had Usos and Fatu backstage, and Fatu said he doesn't need their help. They were offering to have his back. And we also had Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa backstage, and things. This is just the fucking course. They have one consistently good thing, and they had to make sure they went out there and said, we don't want you to enjoy anything.
The NBA playoffs. It is shocking to see all these superstars gone. Kyrie Zane, her last match was on the Raw at the minute with Asuka against Rhea and Io. Now she's gone to Asuka by herself. No more Kabuki Warriors. We got a podcaster named Jeff Allett. Conversation with Soruka.
Yeah. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
she's about to get off. God damn it!
Apollo Crews. Seeing Apollo Crews be released, Apollo Crews pretty much, I'm surprised he stuck around for the company longer. I mean, I think the best thing for Apollo Crews was when he was a heel, when he was the heel on SmackDown, when he was the Intercontinental Champion, he had Commander Aziz. Then he was the U.S. Champion, he had wrestled the Hurt Business how many times? Apollo Crews was in catering. Outside his NXT one, he was in catering, wasn't really doing much.
Let's steal my grandpa's style with Google Pixel. I mean, come on.
Meant to be, picks it up.
Target zone is on 2, and the splash is...
Cross, Santos, Escobar. 3, 2, 1. The WWE SmackDown post show is back, ladies and gents. It's your girl Denise Salcedo, and I'm here with Santi Zap. Santi, dude, first and foremost, it's nice to see you again after 2 weeks. You look different. I see you got different hair, different beard, different glasses, different shirt. Just kidding, you look the same.
Identical.
How are you, man?
I'm excited for no wrestling that I'm going to cover this weekend. I'm excited to do nothing this weekend. This whole week and the previous week, and of course WrestleMania weekend, it all kind of like blends together. I'm sure it was much more like that for you being in the thick of it, Hall of Fame, being in Vegas at WrestleMania, all of that stuff. I'm sure just kind of starts to blend together. But I'm kind of good with toning it down with all of the wrestling that needs to be consumed.
I feel you, man. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. And then Sunday, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to
That's
sit
its
on
own
my
kind of
couch.
stress, though. Going to Disneyland is its own kind of stress.
But here's what's keeping me excited, Santi. At Disneyland, they have these really good beignets. I am so excited to chow one down. They're so good. So anyways, that's really what I'm looking forward to. So even though I know it's exhausting to go to Disneyland, they have good food that I want to try. So I'm excited. But then Sunday, I'm going to sit on my couch, watch TV, and shove my face with hot Cheetos.
Hell yeah, that's.
So I got a plan here. I got a plan, but I know what you feel. I know what you feel. I keep telling everybody, you know the ball from Indiana Jones? How that shit just keeps rolling and rolling? That's how I feel right now with all of the wrestling stuff and just showing up every day. It was 1 second we're getting ready for WrestleMania. I blink, WrestleMania passed, and now we're here.
Yeah, and then as a content creator, you gotta get ready for the WrestleMania drop-off. Happens every year. Always messes with my psyche. Just seeing numbers just crater, and you're like, oh, it's over for me. I'm ruined. I'm gonna be homeless. And then you make it work.
Dude, I was saying that earlier. I was like, watch, in about a week or so, it's gonna be your views are down 90%, and I would be like, no.
Yeah. You know how on YouTube, like they give you like a rating. Oh, you uploaded a 1 out of 10 in terms of views or whatever.
Yeah.
WrestleMania, it was 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10. Like the whole week leading to Mania, 1 out of 10. And now because my videos are doing the normal views that they would do, but compared to WrestleMania, it's like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I'm like, I'm ruined. I am a shell of myself. I am embarrassing my entire family line.
You're like, I'm already a has-been. Damn.
Yeah.
No, that's how I feel too, man. But I always tell myself, you know what? Something will eventually come around. You never know what happens, and you'll get something up, and it'll work itself out. But now we got to get into Smackdown. Not only do we have Smackdown today, but we also have some call-ups too. But before we get to all of that, though, we actually do got to kick things off with a story, and that was basically breaking 2 hours before Smackdown started, and it even bled into Smackdown, and that is that we had a ton of WWE releases. I'm going to run through the list really quickly, and then Santi, I want to get right into it. We had the release of Kairi Sane, Aleister Black, Selena, Uncle Howdy, Nikki Cross, Santos Escobar, the Motor City Machine Guns, Dexter Lumis, Apollo Crews, Rowan, Joe Gacy, Andre Chase, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, Tyra May Steele, Serena Linton, Tyson, Tyreek, Chris Island, Malik Blade, Trill London, and Luca Crucifino. So, Santi, we knew this was coming. What was your reaction, though, to these names that dropped?
I don't know, it feels soulless with some of these decisions. It really feels like, man, some of these names really are just decimals and numbers on a spreadsheet to somebody that's making these decisions. Like, how do you get rid of Kairi Sane, who has a storyline that's yet to be paid off, right? Like, and she's being featured every single week. Ditto goes with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. They're there every single week. Motor City, different story, but like, it's like, why'd you sign them in the first place? Why'd you even bring them here if you're not going to use them? And then Uncle Howdy and the entirety of the Wyatt Six were being featured on a regular basis on Friday Night SmackDown for months. They were a focal point of the tag team division. Like it obviously always sucks. There's no such thing as good releases, in my opinion, when it comes to this time of year. But like, my initial reaction is this doesn't feel too much different from when they released R-Truth. It's just like, why? Why a couple of these? Like, some of these just don't make any sense. Like, some of these were major contributors to your weekly show. I don't know. Like, I'm still kind of processing the whole thing, but I obviously feel gross about it. I always do every year. I don't like that they do it so close to SmackDown, and that it bleeds into SmackDown, and then the conversation becomes the releases as opposed to the show that's happening on screen, because we had a pretty decent SmackDown too.
Yeah, I missed the first 20 minutes of SmackDown because I was doing stuff
No, you
for
don't.
the releases and things, and I'm like, I'm
Seven,
sorry,
six,
but
nine,
it's
two.
really hard to kind of get my brain to refocus on SmackDown, and eventually I did, don't get me wrong, but the whole time, though, we were talking about the releases throughout the entire stream, because how can you not? Santi, I gotta tell you, my reaction to some of these was, when I started seeing some of the first names that came out, when I saw Nikki Cross's name first and foremost, I thought, damn, Nikki Cross is truly one of the nicest people out there, and she has shown so much range, man. When she was Nikki ASH, she did obviously all her, crazy stuff, and then the Sister Abigail things. I hate, but it really sucks though, because in a way, it almost feels like you saw the writing on the wall. Anytime I talk to talent that ends up getting released, they always tell me that they saw red flags. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Wyatt Six saw that. And specifically speaking for Nikki Cross, I went on her cage match page, Santi, and I thought to myself, there's no way, there must be a mistake here of some sort. But it said something along the lines of her having not had a match since like 2024. And that was like a live show, not even a televised show. And I thought to myself, no way. How did so much time go by like that for her? And I got really bummed out for Nikki when I saw that. And then I thought, okay, I should have known right then and there that the entire Wyatt Six was going to be done. I figured as much, that the whole group would be done once they got rid of Uncle Howdy. And this was another one where, for a while when they did the QR codes and everything, you thought, oh man, this is going to go somewhere, this is going to be really hot. But I think now, looking at what happened, WWE never had an actual plan following that whole Monday Night Raw attack that they did in gorilla position. After that, what came of it? A practically almost year-long feud with the MFTs. That was all that they had. And I thought that was very unfortunate. But at the same time, I was kind of going, okay, I can see why WWE would drop them. But I still, feel bad for them. But the ones that shocked me the most was Selena, Aleister Black, and Kairi Sane. Santi, I just interviewed Selena, and you know what we were talking about? I had asked her, how do you feel having Aleister back in WWE and you guys being in the same brand together? We were literally having that conversation, and now the conversation is completely different. Not only does she lose out on her dream and her income, but when it's a couple, it's even worse because you lose out on both of those. And I thought to myself, damn, Aleister just came back to WWE not too long ago, and I'm assuming he never thought this was going to happen. And then with Kairi, I just spoke to Kairi on the carpet. She was so excited. She was so happy. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it hurts when I just know that I just saw these people, just spoke to them, and they were there doing their job and having a good time.
It's brutal. It's always the worst time of the year for sure. Any thoughts on? There's a clip from Zelina Vega saying that the call was like directly from TKO. It has some people in my chat making the assumption, because it has to be just assumptions. No one knows that like these are all over Triple H's head. I don't think that we can make that full assumption. I would like to believe that Triple H knows what talent he's going to have available for his shows when it comes to the writing, but kind of sucks, dude, just in general. Yeah, how much more can we break this down aside from, dude, this fucking blows?
So I did a cursory glance right now on Twitter, and I haven't been able to deep dive as much because of Smackdown. But from what I saw, I think the latest thing that I saw was Dave Meltzer had posted online that this was basically, from the looks of it, this was Triple H's decision as to like who was going to be the ones that got released. And I don't know, but of course we don't know for sure. I don't really know, but it sucks though. You mentioned that the TKO call came in, and I think Santi, when you look at the timeline of things, I think the timeline of things sucks because yes, we know that during this time, yes, we know that releases happen during this time. This is not new. We know this, right? But I think what kind of sucked right before was that, what was it today? I think it was today, or maybe even last night. I'm sorry, I have a horrible time of perception right now. But it just came out that these execs over at TKO, Ari Emanuel, for example, is making $69 million. Like, that is crazy money. And then before that, let's think about what the biggest conversation going into was, hey, the fans are being outpriced. They can't afford the tickets. Tickets aren't selling because people can't afford them. So when I see tickets aren't selling, people can't afford them, the CEO is making millions and millions of dollars, and then these people are being released. When you see them all lined up like...
Here's what I loved about this. I love that Rhea Ripley shut up. What I didn't like was when she kept jabbing and interjecting and trying to be funny. When Jade Cargill and when Michin and when BFAB were trying to cut their promo, Rhea just let them do their thing and let the crowd do their thing and didn't egg on the crowd, which made it even more organic and more natural. What a great debut. Then the match was fantastic. And then they protected them from a loss. Like literally just like one of the best NXT debuts you could possibly have. For somebody in JC Jane, by the way, that's like a journeywoman at this point in NXT. She took a long time to get there. It took a lot of soul searching to finally get JC Jane to work, and it did, and I'm glad that it's translating over here on...
You have to be quite the go-getter when you're running your own business. Doesn't hurt if you have the Google Fi phone plan, too. I get...
over.
The title from Stephanie, I remember I was pissed. I was like, what the fuck? They gave no signs that this was going to happen. Some bullshit, this and that. I was so mad during that stream. You can go back. You can watch it. But I got to tell you, since then, she won me over, man. And you want to know what it was that she won me over with? Her heel promos and the fact that she engages with the crowd. When they're out there booing her and talking their shit, she goes out there and she says it right back. And that's one of the things that I pointed out that you're struggling to see with Izzy Dame over on NXT, where it gets a little awkward.
Really, JCJ.
Literally, yeah. No, Kelani Jordan, she has improved drastically in a short period of time. And with Tony D, I wonder if this reign as champion is good. Because, for example, what got JC Jane to the main roster was her championship reign as NXT Women's Champion. That got her noticed in a different kind of level, and that got her to the main roster. I wonder if the exact same thing will happen for Tony D. I'm not so sure, to be real with you.
With the division, JC was working with the best division in women's wrestling. Tony D is not working with the best division in men's wrestling.
Thank you, Gavin. We got Peral Campos here who says, Kendrick won the beef with Drake. Dodgers beat the Blue Jays. West Coast for life. Thank you so much for that. And also throwing some strays to Santi. Yeah, Kendrick Lamar's from my neck of the woods. You gotta get stuck with Drake, Santi. That's embarrassing. Go out there and melt a big giant piece of ice. I saw you, Santi, out there with a blow dryer. Oh man, thank you, Peral. We got Move Like Jay here. It says BTW. I'll go ahead and say it. If it was designated a slave state in the past, it's a southern state. SoCal is not southern. Still sucks though. Hey, don't be throwing strays.
Information will come out about the who, what, where, when, and why in the days to come, but we're always on. You know, I was reading earlier on one of the websites, they had a WWE, must have been a press release, coming out of WrestleMania talking about some other record that they had set, and I don't know, some sort of business announcement about how well they did and all the money they generated for WrestleMania this year. And it's always jarring
you have to say all the right things.
Read something like that, and then immediately after that, you have a day like today, which happens almost every year. There's always this Black Friday period in WWE, this dark cloud that hangs over, and you just wait for the announcements of who they have cut, who has WWE released from their contract. And sometimes it's just this mass wave of releases.
I
Sometimes
can come over there and punch you in the face if you keep talking like that. Nobody cares about the CEO. May he rot in hell. You don't like it? Too bad. You won't get injustice.
They really are the ones with all the power. You know, you sign these contracts for X number of years.
That's a problem.
And I always think back to the Good Brothers many years ago when they had re-signed with WWE these big money contracts, 5-year deals, and then just a matter of months later, the company cut them. Because at the end of the day, you know, when you sign these contracts, really what you're doing is you're making a guarantee. You're making a promise to the company that, okay, I will be under contract to you for X amount of time, and I can't go anywhere. But of course, when the shoe's on the other foot, the company can let you go at any moment. It doesn't matter if you have a 5-year contract, 10-year contract, unless you have a no-cut contract, which I'm willing to bet most talent in WWE do not have, but maybe the very tippy-top talents. The reality is that your job is never safe. And especially if you are someone who is very low on the totem pole in WWE. And I made the comment not even a few weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago, somebody had sent in a question. They had asked me, who do I think is going to get, released from WWE, with the post-WrestleMania cuts? And I said, I don't want to name any names because that's just kind of gross. But also, I would just say that if you are someone who is not currently being utilized by the company, if you're sitting in the back, if you're flying out to whatever city that Raw or SmackDown is, and you're not actively being used, and you're sitting backstage or in catering, you're hoping to be on the show, you're never on the show, to me, those are the people that should always be worried. Those are the people that are always on the bubble because you're expendable. You're not actively on the show. You're not being allowed to contribute in any meaningful way. So, of course, low-hanging fruit, if people have to get cut, I would be worried if I was someone like that. Although occasionally you will also find talents that are on television who get cut anyway. And so as I'm looking at the list of names that we now have, and I'm going to get into here momentarily, there are names on this list that lost their jobs today in WWE and NXT that don't shock me. It's all sad, it's all shitty. No matter who you are, no matter who you like or don't like, no matter who you think should or should not be on TV, it's always a shitty situation when somebody loses their job. And I would not advocate for that, and anybody who advocates for that is an asshole. So let me just say that first and foremost. But there are times where I will look at these lists, and I will see certain names on there, and I just scratch my head. I am baffled by some of the names that will pop up on these lists. And for all the times I've said, well, if you're not really being utilized, I would be worried, there are names on this list that were being used and still lost their job today in WWE. And it has me sitting here wondering what the hell is going on here. How are these decisions being made? To my count, 24 names have gotten their release or have left, have departed WWE as of today. 24. And yet Def Rebel remains employed. Think about that. But it was Fightful, Bodyslam.net, really all the main sites now are reporting on it, but they were the ones that first started breaking the news about talent releases in WWE. And this is what we know so far. Now this can and unfortunately probably will evolve because there's no indication that this is it, that there won't be any more releases. I hope not, but it is still possible there could be more. These are the people that are on the list. Now I will say, we don't know for sure if all of these names were necessarily released by WWE. It could be a case where certain contracts were allowed to expire. I'm going to guess, based upon how many names are on this list and the fact they all happened at the same time, most, if not all of these, are probably releases from the company. But 2 names on that list are Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. 2 names that were part of the Smackdown roster. They were not on Smackdown tonight, and the reason they were not on Smackdown tonight is because they are no longer working for WWE. This is the same Aleister Black who has pinfall wins in the last couple of months on television over Randy Orton, who just main evented WrestleMania, by the way, and Sami Zayn, who went into WrestleMania as the United States Champion. The same Aleister Black who, if the latest reports are to be believed, the original idea was for him to be the one on the phone with Randy Orton, or the voice in the head of Randy Orton. And there was going to be a story that would have played out at WrestleMania involving Aleister Black and Randy Orton, potentially even a match at WrestleMania between the two of them. That Aleister Black, the one that they only first brought back to the company 1 year ago. And also his wife, Zelina Vega, gone from the company. The reason I say that most of these are probably releases, but we can't say for sure that all of them are, I'm wondering And again, maybe not. Maybe this is not the way that it worked out. But I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if maybe Zelina Vega got the call to be released. And who's to say that Aleister Black was like, if she's gone, I'm gone. Right? We just don't know. So I hesitate to say that he was released. We don't know. We know that she was because she's already commented on this. Zelina Vega, not very happy about the fact that Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful was the first one to make public her name as one of the releases. She claimed on her Twitch stream that she got a phone call not from Paul Levesque or anybody specifically WWE, but she actually got a phone call from TKO. Normally when she gets these calls in the past, it'll come from Stanford, it'll come from a WWE number. Evidently in this case, she claims that she got a call from TKO. Whatever that means. I don't know if it said TKO on her caller ID. I don't know. But she says she got the call directly from TKO. So there's going to be a whole conversation around who's responsible for this? Who's calling the shots? When it comes to this list of talents that have been released, is this a Paul Levesque thing? Is this a Nick Khan thing? Is this a TKO thing? Oh, she got a phone call from TKO. This is now the narrative online. We can't blame Triple H and WWE. This is coming from TKO. Let me explain something to you. I'm not in the room. You are not in the room. None of us are in the room when these names are chosen and when these decisions are made. So I cannot sit here and tell you with 100% certainty this is the case, but I will tell you with 99% certainty. People like Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro are not sitting around in a room with a list of all the WWE talents in front of them going, you know what? Aleister Black and Zelina Vega and this person and that person, we'll cut this person, we'll keep this guy, but we'll let this woman go. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. So the idea that TKO is making the decision on who to release is preposterous to me. Now the decision that, okay, certain cuts need to be made for budgetary reasons, right? You have a number, you can't go past this number, so you gotta... That I can believe. That's exactly what's going on here.
Someone came to my house and threatened to punch me in the
That I
face
can believe.
because what I said
But
about
as far as
Philly.
who is
That's
making
very
the decision
disrespectful
on who
to him.
goes and who
And
stays,
and I told you, shut your mouth.
you cannot
before I
say
come
that
over there and
Paul
punch you in the
Levesque
face.
and
That's
people
what I
like
thought.
that have no
Nobody cared about the
responsibility in this
CEO
because
making what he
it is
thought.
impossible
You
for
don't
me
like
to
it, too bad.
conceive
You ain't getting justice.
that these decisions are being made
That's
100%
my fault.
independent of him. He,
And
the
punch
chief
you in the
content
fucking face.
officer, who is responsible for trying to figure out week to week which talents are going to be utilized on television. Which talents are
You know, that is completely disrespectful and dishonest.
we going to have in this storyline or that storyline? And if you believe that they're mapping stories out weeks or months in advance, which I'm not so sure that's the case watching these fucking shows, it is impossible to conceive that they have absolutely no involvement in this process whatsoever. He is still in a position to be picking the names of the people who are going to be cut even if he's not the one making the phone call at the end of the day. So I'm sure more information will come out about the who, what, where, when, and why in the days to come. But I already see this narrative forming that because Zelina Vega made a comment about TKO on her Twitch stream, this is all TKO, and it's not this person's fault, it's not that person's fault. It's a collaboration. And there is nobody sitting in the offices of TKO making these specific decisions on which talents are being cut. That is ridiculous. I mean, stop yourself for a second and think about that. Use your fucking brain, okay? But she says she got the call at 5:09 p.m. this afternoon that she was being released. And she was very upset that Sean Ross Sapp beat her to the punch before she had the opportunity to go out and make the announcement herself. Now, this was 5:09 p.m., she claimed. I think Sean got the announcement up. It was 8 o'clock or after 8 o'clock. All I'll say is this. I don't know if she has some personal beef with him. I think I saw him make a comment that she already didn't like him, so maybe she already doesn't like the guy. I don't know. He's in a position, in this case, where he is reporting information on people that have been released by the company. It is not his job to wait and sit on information that he may have. In the event that every single one of these 24 talents so far that got released may want to go ahead and make an announcement on their own. Put a video out, put a tweet out. not how this works. But she's also, I'm sure, very, very upset, which is understandable, very emotional about it. But again, I already see the piling on, and how could he do something like that? In this case, he didn't do anything that you wouldn't expect someone in his position to do. And that's what I'll say about that for now. Now, Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, they were doing stuff on television. They were involved in like the Randy Orton stuff. They were in the background of certain backstage segments. And look, a lot of the time that doesn't lead to anything. It's something, it gets people's jollies going, oh my God, look who's in the background. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything, okay? 9 times out of 10, when Triple H does that, it means nothing.
Because what he said about Mangione.
Maxine Dupree has been seen in the background on Raw in recent weeks, I think with the Vision.
You don't kill someone on a
Does that mean that she's going to join the Vision? She hasn't even been on television. So I wouldn't get too excited about that sort of stuff. But nonetheless, there they were in the background here, in the background there, in the background there. Sami Zayn, they would show up and talk to Sami Zayn. Randy Orton, they would show up and talk about Randy Orton. And I just find it hard to believe, again, if this was their decision to let him go, that you couldn't find something for this man to do on this show when you absolutely could have. I mean, you could say that about different people on this list. He was one of the more surprising names, not the most surprising. The most surprising name on this list, and the one that, when I saw it, I thought that it was someone who was trolling. I said, surely this can't be true. But it is Kairi Sane. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, Kairi Sane is someone who was being, prepped to challenge for the World Championship in the women's division or anything like that. No, but she has been involved in a very specific story now for months on Monday Night Raw. And the pairing with Asuka, the Kabuki Warriors, but the story that they have been telling where she has just been verbally and psychologically abused and manipulated by this woman, and they want you to feel sympathy for Kairi. Every time that, you hear Asuka shout Kairi's name, and she would slink away looking all terrified. And of late, Io Sky has been roped into this story because Io Sky is trying to convince Kairi, you don't need to be associating with her anymore. You don't need her. She treats you like dog shit. And it all seemed to be building to this big moment at WrestleMania. We might get a match at WrestleMania between Io Sky and Asuka. It's almost like custody of Kairi, right? But she was the central, she was the crown jewel. She was the focal point of this story. And then we got no WrestleMania match, which now makes me wonder how early did they know they were going to be cutting this woman? And maybe that had something to do with why we ended up not getting that match at WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised. But it seemed like that was the direction that we were heading in. And even if they were to do the match at Backlash, we could get Io and Asuka, that's great. Well, the story that you have been preparing people for, the story that you have been telling people, is out the fucking window now. So I would love to know, what is the logic behind a decision like this? Do you mean to tell me that Kairi Sane was making so much money that she had to be cut? That she had one of the more expensive contracts on the books and had to be unloaded? She was in the middle of an important story on that show. And we never got the payoff to it. This is a company that loves to talk about storytelling and loves to talk about your characters and building stories. And this has been playing out for so long, and now we will never get the payoff to it. The payoff was Kairi comes to her senses and stands up to Asuka. And instead, Kairi Sane got fired today.
Hey, who do you think you're...
And she's gone, and Asuka now is all by herself. And whatever they do now on Monday Night Raw with Asuka and Io, and look, I hope they have a great match if they ever actually put these two women in the ring. But whatever story they tell now, the story is dead. Dead. So they expect you to sort of invest in these characters and invest in these stories that they're telling. And sometimes the stories are good, sometimes the stories are shit. But then something like this happens, and they kind of like, they throw a monkey wrench into the entire thing, and you just see her going, why have I bothered? Why invest your time in any of this stuff? If this is the sort of thing that's going to happen, like, I am completely puzzled by that cut. I don't understand it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that she was the most important person on that show. She wasn't. But she was an important part of the show. I don't understand it. I don't understand the logic that goes into something like that. Because there are going to be names on this list here that I read to you, and you're not even going to know who some of these people are. Some of them are NXT names. Some of them may be talents that, they were trying with, and they just came to the realization that this person just isn't advancing quick enough. And look, that's understandable. Not everybody who is brought into the Performance Center or debuts in NXT is going to make it. But in a situation like this, I have absolutely no idea what is going through their fucking brains when they let some of these people go. How the fuck do you get rid of Kairi Sane in the middle of this? You know, Julia lost her United States Championship tonight on Smackdown. I'd be very worried right now if I were her. That's all I was thinking of when she lost to Tiffany Stratton tonight. Why did she lose that championship tonight? Not only that, but they were clearly teasing a split, or at least some tensions between her and Kiana James. So clearly there's a split on the way. Or maybe there won't be. That's assuming Julia's even around. I hate to even think like that, but you can't tell me that you weren't thinking the same thing when that match was over. That's why I don't think these cuts are necessarily done yet. The entire Wyatt Six faction is gone from SmackDown. So not one member, not two members. Every single member of the Wyatt Six is gone. Bo Dallas, or Uncle Howdy, whatever you want to call him, he's gone. Eric Rowan is gone. Dexter Lumis is gone. Joe Gacy is gone. Nikki Cross is gone. And so now it makes a lot of sense why they just lost in the way that they did, in a very anticlimactic way, to the MFTs on SmackDown last week. We had to sit here for the last 6 months, it felt like 6 years, and watch the MFTs and the Wyatt Six feud mostly over a fucking lantern. Now, I know you could talk about this. It's the significance of the lantern. The lantern, it was Bray's lantern. It's the significance of it. It was a fucking lantern. The story was shit. And they dragged this thing out for months to where I thought they were going to put that on the WrestleMania card. Thankfully, they didn't. So, again, let's not sit here and pretend that what they were doing with the Wyatts was any good. It wasn't. Now, they could have been doing other things with the Wyatt Six instead of dragging this thing out for so long. Absolutely. That whole storyline, that whole feud did nothing for either
He's
group.
a parasite. May he rot in hell.
Actually made the Wyatts, I think, less over than they were at the beginning of the whole thing.
That's what I thought.
But the reality is this.
The
Wyatt Six always was going to have a shelf life of a certain amount of time. I never looked at that as a sustainable gimmick in the long haul. I think it was cool the way that Bo was brought back and was allowed to pay tribute to his brother and continue his legacy and be able to carry on with some of the characters that he, had created and thought about in his head. And I think he paid great tribute to him. And if you remember when they made their debut on Raw, remember when they massacred the entire roster? And I know some people were turned off by that. They thought the whole thing was ridiculous. But most people, I think, were pretty excited about the way that they did it and said, man, what a fucking debut this is. It was certainly memorable. It was a hell of a debut. And then the problem becomes, how do you follow up something like that? They massacred the entire roster. Chad Gable was laying there on the floor. He looked like he was shot in the head. Everybody, blood on the walls. It was like something out of a horror movie. But you look at that and you go, how do you continue on with something like that without just, you had all these guys in this group. It's almost like a supernatural force. And that's the problem with a gimmick like this, is that where do you go next? There weren't a lot of great places to go with it if you wanted to kind of keep that aspect of it up. Or you can humanize them and go in a totally different direction. We could learn more about each individual, character in the group. And maybe some of them even branch off a little bit and start doing some single stuff, and they don't just do group stuff. They don't just do, six-man tags or whatever. There were other ways to go about utilizing the Wyatt Six. And they chose to go in the most basic, kind of boring, paint-by-numbers, vanilla way that they could. They would come out, they were an entrance. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but that's what they ended up being. They were an entrance. And then the bell rang, and they would have matches from time to time, not very often, because they're an attraction, so you really shouldn't have them on TV every week. But when they were actually using them, what were they doing on the show that was exciting? What were they doing on the show that was interesting? We had these cut-ins with the VHS-style vignettes, and after a while, they all sort of blend together, right? They weren't really doing much at that point to think outside the box. It was the same basic bullshit every single week, and then the MFTs came along, and at that point, I mean, it was just death all around. It was like they would come on my television screen, and I would just try to do something else, because I had absolutely no interest in seeing these people working together on this show, and it soured me. It soured me on all of them. It really did. And so you look at it and you go, okay, what is the end game for this group? Like, for Uncle Howdy, where do you go from here? Uncle Howdy is not wrestling Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Joe Gacy is a talented guy. He had a chance to do a few different things in NXT. Remember the Schism? He was doing some other stuff down there, and was given the chance to start cutting promos and stuff. Like, there was something there with him. But in the Wyatt Six, he was just a background player, barely ever had the chance to speak. He was just a guy. Dexter Lumis, who never spoke. That was his whole gimmick. That sounds like death. Just another guy. Eric Rowan they brought back. Remember when Rowan had that cameo in that AEW pre-show match? And everybody was raving about him. He looked great in that match. And so when he was brought back to WWE, he's like, okay, you know what? That's kind of cool. They're giving him another chance. There's something there with him. He's not carrying around the dumb spider in the cage. Let's see what they do with him this time. They did nothing. They did nothing. They were an entrance. They didn't know what else to do with them. So it kind of feels like it was only a matter of time before we got here. But I look at like Nikki Cross. What the hell happened to Nikki Cross? She was part of this group. Do you remember the last time you saw Nikki Cross in a match on television? I bet you don't. If I asked you who was the last person that Nikki Cross was in the ring with in a singles match on television, and I put a gun to your head and I said, give me the answer in 10 seconds, you'd be fucking dead. You couldn't tell me. This woman hasn't worked a match on television in 2 years. To my knowledge, she wasn't injured. They basically put her on ice for 2 years. This woman is a wrestler. Instead, she came out in the funny mask and she would just be in the background, and every now and then she would do a crossbody onto somebody on the floor. That was what she was being paid to do. She wasn't actually being used in the ring anymore. Maybe now she'll actually go out there and she'll have this big resurgence on the independent scene. I think that would be great to see. It would be nice to get her back in the ring and have her start wrestling again. But this is what I mean. It's like, I don't know what the end goal was for this group. It just never made any sense to me, the way they were being used. But the entire group now, the entire faction, gone from WWE. The tag team division on Smackdown fucking sucks. Okay? We have had the MFTs and the Wyatts doing some tag team stuff. And who are the tag team champions right now? Holy shit, I just forgot who the tag team champions are on this show. Is it the MFTs? I think the MFTs are the tag team champions. No, Damian Priest and R-Truth. Okay, so there you go. I swear to you. I swear to you. I wasn't putting on an act there. I, for the moment, forgot who the fuck the tag team champions were. Damian Priest and R-Truth, okay? The tag team, that tells you everything you need to know. The tag team division on SmackDown sucks. And so you have the Motor City Machine Guns. They were part of that tag team division on SmackDown. They were doing nothing on the show. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Every now and then they would kind of dust them off to do something. The last thing we saw them doing on the show, they were with Johnny Gargano trying to convince him to not lay on the crate. This was the compelling television that they came up with for these guys. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, two very talented guys. The problem is, right out of the gate when they got on SmackDown, they made them tag team champions within the first 2 weeks. After that, it was all downhill. Where do you go from there? Right? They lost the titles not long after that, and that was it. They never got back up to that level. They were part of, I think, a couple of memorable TLC matches on SmackDown, even one, I think, a year ago, right? Weren't they part? I think they might have been part of that match. But beyond that, I couldn't tell you a whole hell of a lot about what these two guys did. They always felt like they were on the bubble to me. And part of the problem also was that they never really got over. If we're being honest, we would see them on the show, And it was painful sometimes. They'd be out there, and it was like pulling teeth to try to get a reaction from the audience. And yeah, you could put some of that maybe on WWE in terms of the way that they were being booked and utilized on the show, but you can't put it all on WWE. Some of it goes on the talent, and the reality is they just did not get over at a high level on SmackDown. That put them in a very vulnerable position where today they were on the cut list, and so the Motor City Machine Guns no longer in WWE. Alba Fire, who has been playing one of Chelsea Green's secret Hervis agents, is gone. She posted on X, Kaylee Ray would batter Alba Fire, just saying. Kaylee Ray, of course, is the persona that she was playing in NXT UK. And I believe she got a name change. When did she get the name change? Because I thought she was Kaylee Ray in NXT UK. Unless they changed her name there. But basically, she's ready to get back out there and be Kaylee Ray and say fuck you to Alba Fire. And I think she's going to do just fine for her. I think a lot of people on this list, frankly, are going to end up doing very well for themselves. And land somewhere if they want to sign a contract. If they don't want to, I think they'll do well on the indies. She's one of those people. But again, she wasn't really being used in a meaningful way. She was there to wheel Chelsea Green out in her wheelchair. That's it. That's it. This one, it felt like it was only a matter of time. Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark is a name that we have not heard in a very long time because Zoe Stark suffered a horrific knee injury on Raw in May of last year. I mean, I think back to that injury and the way her leg oh god, it was awful. And the scream, I could hear her scream in my head. So it was a terrible, terrible injury. She tore her ACL, her MCL, her meniscus, and she was on the road to recovery. She had surgery, she went through grueling rehab, and we hadn't really heard any updates on her in quite some time. I was kind of following her social media on Instagram from time to time, and she seems, to be doing a lot better. And I had actually just mentioned her not that long ago, and it felt like she might be, about ready to come back very soon. And I was thinking, well, they have the Women's Intercontinental title, they have the Women's United States Championship, and I could see her, being plugged into one of those divisions, and she could be a solid addition there, Well, I mean, it was wishful thinking. That won't be happening, though, because she has been released by WWE. And I was not aware of the fact that apparently just recently she was cleared to return, because you hear the name Zoe Stark and she was let go. It's like, well, that's pretty fucking shitty. Woman is still out, recovering from this horrendous injury, hoping to make a comeback, and you let her go. Apparently she was medically cleared. I don't know how recently, but sometime recently she was medically cleared to return, and I guess was just waiting to find out how they were going to bring her back into creative on television. To me, this is almost shittier. This is almost worse than if they would have just let her go in the middle of her rehabbing from that injury, because she went through all of this grueling rehab and recovery, and she made it, and she got medically cleared, and I'm sure in her head she's all excited, man. She's ready to come back. She's ready to jump back in that ring and contribute and get another chance, and then she has it taken away from her. Because that injury, that has to fuck with your head. That injury, I'm sure, was just devastating to her on so many levels. And so imagine working yourself back up to a place where now you are medically cleared and ready to come back, and they fire you. To me, that's even worse. And she already posted on social media as well. She said, "Thank you, WWE. You made a young girl's dream come true. You could not have been better and more supportive during my healing, and I will forever be grateful. Thank you to all the girls in the back, the producers, cameramen. You were all incredibly kind and gracious. And a special thank you to Terry Taylor and Coach Bloom for teaching me so much of being a shoulder to lean on. It's just the end of this chapter and the beginning of a new one, falling forward, onward, and upward with God's plan." And then she listed her email address. If you want to book Zoe Stark, zstark.booking@gmail.com. I can assure you that some people will be reaching out to her to book her on their shows. I don't think that she's going to be hurting for work when she's ready to make her comeback. Now, it makes me wonder. I can't help but look at this and wonder, because we're talking about WWE and TKO and big corporation here. Looking at this and wondering if they were waiting until she was officially healed and medically cleared that they were going to make a move like this. That's the cynic in me. I don't want to believe that that's the case. And also, they have shown in the past that they will let you go even if you are currently out injured. I have other names to get to here. In fact, the next name I'm going to get to falls under that category. So maybe that's not what happened here. I just think that's incredibly shitty. Zoe is a talented wrestler. And Zoe is someone who, as I said, could be you have 2 women's mid-card championships now in this company that were really only instituted a few months before she got hurt. She would be someone who, again, you can easily plug in. And then if she does really well this run and she really hits it off, then who knows? Maybe she can climb even higher. But they evidently felt that it wasn't worth it. She wasn't worth it. She didn't bring enough value to this company. So they let her go. Santos Escobar. This is another one that is just wild to think about. Santos Escobar was on SmackDown once upon a time, leading a small faction. It was him, it was Angel, it was Berto. And again, they weren't really lighting the world on fire. They really weren't doing a whole lot with them. And then his contract expired. And he chose not to re-sign with WWE, as I recall. And so he was about to become a free agent. I think for a brief period of time he did become a free agent. WWE apparently really wanted to sign him. They wanted him back. And so they negotiated a new deal. They apparently threw a shit ton of money at this guy. And he agreed to re-sign. And I look at that, I go, hey, good for him. I don't know if that was his plan, but apparently he got a much better deal out of it. And then we didn't hear anything about Santos Escobar for months. For months. And then there was a report that, he kind of fell through the cracks. And so WWE is preparing plans to bring him back very soon. Fell through the cracks. And then they bring him back in AAA. Unfortunately for him, he got injured. I think he got injured back in January. I don't know if he didn't know about it, didn't know the severity of it, hit it. I don't know what happened there. If he got hurt in January, it wasn't until March at that AAA Rey de Reyes show. He was in that 4-way match, and you could tell that something was wrong. He just did not look great in that match. Somehow he worked the match, but I think it was a triceps tear. And so he underwent surgery to repair his arm. Apparently, within the last few weeks, he had a second surgery. There was some issue, I think, with his ulnar nerve, I believe, is what I read. So again, he's going to be out for a while. He just had 2 surgeries. He re-signed with the company because they pursued him. They wanted him back. And so they threw money at him, and he agreed to come back, and now he is done. They have fired him. And again, I look at this and I just go, I don't understand how that works. You wanted him so bad. He wasn't even being used on the show in any significant way. It was kind of weird how we have to have him. We have to have him back. And it's like, all right, good for him. He's a talented guy. Hopefully they'll do more with him. But apparently not good enough to hold on to because now he's out of a job anyway, as it turned out. Again, it's just one of those things. And again, he's hurt at the time. At the moment, he's hurt. So that's one of those names on the list that I just shake my head at and I go, I don't understand. Make it make sense, because to me it doesn't. Apollo Crews. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know how he survived the previous cuts. Because you talk about somebody who was being paid and showing up to work and really not being utilized outside of maybe wrestling on main event. That is the story of Apollo Crews and his career the last few years. He did get a bit of a push years ago. He was even the Intercontinental Champion at one point. You know how many years ago that was? That was 5 years ago. What have they done with Apollo Crews in the last 4 years? 5 years? Nothing. Good for him. He survived a lot of other waves of cuts. Unfortunately, it caught up with him this time. He should have read JTG's book. See, if you would have read JTG's book, you would have known, don't answer your phone. Unfortunately, he answered his phone, and he ended up on the list. Andre Chase and Dante Chen, they were also released from NXT. Chase, he had not been on NXT television since January. I think the peak of the whole Chase U thing, that was some time ago, as it is. Dante Chen, he was the first Singaporean wrestler ever signed to WWE. He tweeted saying, 5 years, 147 matches, thank you WWE. And I don't think he meant it this way, but if that isn't an argument for the need for more house shows, I don't know what is. 147 matches in 5 years isn't very many matches. But he was never really used as anything other than, like a lower card, almost like an enhancement guy to really make the other person look good. I don't ever remember him being pushed in a serious way, even in NXT. The appearances I remember him making, I don't believe he was ever seriously pushed. Tyra May Steele is gone. She won a gold medal in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. First female winner from the first season of WWE LFG. She is gone. This is a kind of an eerie one. I don't know how many of you were paying attention to this, but if you remember, last month she tweeted. It was a very weird tweet. And some people took it to mean that she had been released by WWE, and WWE, I guess, had to put a statement out saying she is, in fact, not released, and she is still under contract. But she had tweeted something about, I guess, having a dream or having a nightmare that resulted in her being released by WWE. But she was just talking about a dream. She was talking about a nightmare that she had.
Well,
1 month later, that nightmare has become a reality because she has, in fact, been released by WWE, so that's a little eerie. And the other names on this list, you may or may not know. I only know a handful of them. Serena Linton, Tyson DuPont, Tyreek Igwe, Chris Island, Malik Blade, Trill London, and Luca Crucifino, who I think have been doing stuff in Evolve. They are all gone from WWE. So those are the names that we know of so far. By my count, I believe that makes 24. It's somewhere in that 24 range, and there could be more yet to come. This is all broken just in the last several hours. Sometimes these things will drag on into the weekend or the beginning of the following week. Hopefully that's all of them. Again, no one takes pleasure, and if you do, you're an asshole. No one takes pleasure in hearing that somebody got, fired. So, randomly released, they lost their job, unless there's a damn good reason for it. Some people, if it's a disciplinary thing, that's a different story. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. And I would be very curious to find out more about the Aleister Black one. If that in fact was a release, or if it was if it was a case where his wife was released, and he is kind of standing with her and opted to leave on his own volition. Again, I don't know if that's what happened here. We'll wait for more information. It's just a terrible thing if you are in that position, because I'm sure for a lot of these people, they've been through it before, and a lot of them haven't. And it's a terrible phone call to get, and then you wonder, okay, well, what's next for me? It's a little bit different if you're an established name. You'll probably be fine. Some of these names, if they want to continue wrestling, if they were out of the PC, let's say, they don't know. They don't know where their future is going to take them. Some of these names on this list, whether it's a Kairi Sane or Santos Escobar, Zoe Stark, someone like that, there are companies, whether it be a TNA or an AEW or what have you, MLW, that will absolutely be able to use them. And hopefully they will land on their feet and they will do well. And who's to say that, years from now, WWE doesn't come calling again? That's what happens sometimes. You get released, shit happens, you go out, you work, you make yourself into a bigger name and a hotter commodity, and all of a sudden one day WWE's like, hey, let's have a conversation. And there have been examples of this before, of people that have left or been fired and have come back, and hopefully that will be the case with some of these folks. If they want to work for WWE again, hopefully that will be the case for them. Hopefully they'll land on their feet. But just some of these names are just puzzling to me. I would be curious to see if any news comes out about why someone like a Kairi Sane in the middle of a story like that on Monday Night Raw is suddenly let go. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me. If there were names on this list that were, bigger names, let's say, and you look at that and you hear, oh man, this person was making, high six figures, and they're not really being used in a high six-figure kind of way, and WWE decided, you know what, that contract has to go. It sucks, but I can understand that. At least there's a logic to that. To me, there's no logic in some of these names being on this list. I don't understand it. And in some cases, yes, you can look at it and go, the WWE really dropped the ball on this person or that person. But then there are other names where, you know what, it cuts both ways. Sorry to say. Some of these cuts are not surprising at all. Sometimes there are names that are going to be cut and they got to make room for new ones. We have new NXT call-ups. That was something we saw on Raw Monday Night. Ethan Page, Sol Ruka. Even earlier this year, Boba Femi, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Jordan Grace. You have to make room for the next generation of stars, which also means that as new names come in, there are going to be names that have to go out. And we talked about this issue with AEW before. They have a gigantic roster. And they sign and they sign and they sign and they sign people, and you don't hear stories a lot about people who are leaving, about people who are being released, which in a way is kind of good. But you can get to a point where the roster becomes overloaded, and that's not good either, because then you have people who become unhappy because they're not being utilized because there's only so much television time, right? It kind of cuts both ways. That's why everybody on this list can't just go to AEW. But that's why it's also good to have multiple places to go work. AEW, TNA, MLW. I mean, you also have Ring of Honor, which is technically still AEW. But it's good to have multiple places to work. This is an example of why. This is something WWE does just about every single year. And it's to be expected. It sucks, but it's part of life. When you work for that company, you have to accept that. It's part of life. At some point, they're going to turn around when you're of no use to them, you're of no value to them anymore, and they're going to say goodbye. And the question is, do you have a backup plan on what it is that you want to do? I mentioned there being some NXT call-ups on the show tonight. Raw Monday night, we saw who they were there. It only made sense that we would have more NXT call-ups on the show tonight, and we did. Fatal Influence, the entire trio, JC Jane, Fallon Henley, Laney Reed. They're officially now part of the Smackdown roster. We also learned tonight that Blake Monroe, the Glamour, is on her way to Smackdown. That is long overdue, and a move that I think will absolutely strengthen the women's division on that show, as will Fatal Influence. Ricky Saints is on his way to SmackDown. He did not debut tonight, but we did get a vignette for him, and he's going to be making his debut in Tulsa next week, which would mean that Ricky Saints and Royce Keys are going to be reunited. Two former members of Team Taz going to be reunited here on this show. And again, these are moves that were needed, especially after what we saw Monday night. SmackDown needed a boost. They got that boost. One boost I thought the show might get was the addition of CM Punk. There was no mention of CM Punk on the show tonight. There was no CM Punk appearance. There was no indication that CM Punk is going to be SmackDown bound. He still could be, but for the time being, it doesn't look like that. Instead, what we had in the main event was Solo Sikoa against Jacob Fatu, who was both on Raw Monday and on SmackDown tonight. And I'm all for more Jacob Fatu. I think he's got a huge upside. I'm a big Jacob Fatu fan. I have no issue with that. But we had the Bloodline stuff. Closed the show out on Monday night. How did they open the show tonight? With the Bloodline stuff. How much of the Bloodline are we going to get across these two shows? It was jarring to see on a day where so many non-Bloodline names were released and lost their jobs. And they just seem to be flooding the zone with more Bloodline stuff on these shows. It was very noticeable. But Jacob is looking for an answer on Monday from Roman Reigns. So tonight what they wanted to do was get him in the main event and get a win under his belt and push the story of him and Roman. Is that going to be the match at Backlash or not? We won't know until Monday night, but that is why they did what they did tonight. The Usos, by the way, they crossed over from Raw to SmackDown tonight as well, because what brand split? There is no fucking brand split. They can go wherever they want to go. So they decided to show up on SmackDown tonight. Cody Rhodes, his eye is all fucked up. After the WrestleMania Night 1 main event, I thought we would get some sort of injury update on him tonight. We didn't. He came out, he cut a promo, a very basic promo. Certainly nothing as interesting as what we saw with him and Punk on Monday. But there was no mention of whether or not he, suffered some sort of injury, beyond just what we see with our own two eyes. Or if he's medically cleared, or when he might be back in the ring.
You're done,
nothing.
Cody.
There was nothing. His eye still looks all
Cody.
gnarly. It'll be a few weeks before he heals up.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he's probably going to be in the ring at Backlash, which I guess doesn't really matter if they have Roman defending his title on that show.
Yeah.
But yes, we had more Bloodline on the show, and honestly, beyond that, we do have a new United States champion on the women's side. We're going to get into that. This was not a great show. I do like the fact that we're getting some new faces on the show. I think that it's absolutely needed. I think, frankly, a whole fucking reset is needed.
Yeah.
With this show and this entire product. And we're getting that to some degree with some of these new faces that have been called up. But this was not a great show tonight. It was a decent show. There were definitely things I liked, and there were definitely things I didn't like. And that was really the story of SmackDown. We're going to get into all of it here, because this is your Friday Night SmackDown review on a very newsworthy night. It is Friday night, April 25th, who told Solo that the only getting over with the audience, that's the kiss of death. I think they see more in Kiana James than they do in Julia. I think of the two, if I had to say, one is safe and the other is not.
Let's face it, most of us aren't going to set foot on Mars.
I'm on Mars! It's freezing. I'm going to go back to the mountain.
Out of everything. Does anybody have going over the line sheets and saying, you know what, Mark? I think we got to get rid of Kairi Sane tonight. I think that Kairi Sane, man, I think we got to let her loose tonight. And Mark Shapiro's looking at Ari Emanuel across the board of directors table. You know what, Ari? I think that's a good idea, man. I wasn't really pleased with her performance. That Kairi Sane. Yeah, I think we should cut her loose. Ari Emanuel also wasn't looking at Apollo Crews. Hey, Mark, what about this Apollo Crews fellow? What about him? Yeah, you know what, Ari? I think we gotta let Apollo Crews go, man. You know, he hasn't really been wowing me as of late. I don't know what he's about, but I think the catering bill's a little bit too high the last couple of years, man. I think we gotta let him go. That silly Apollo Crews, man. Yeah, we gotta cut him. We gotta cut him. Let him go. Just get rid of him. Get rid of him. Well, how about this one? Hey, Ari, what about this one? I got one for you. How about, let me put on my, Zoe Stark, Ari. What about Zoe Stark, man? What's she about? Oh, she's been out with an injury for 9 months. Oh, man. Yeah, I heard some really great things about her, Ari. I heard she was uber athletic. Spent some time in NXT. Oh, man, yeah, she got hurt, man. Unfortunately, she got hurt. She just got cleared, Ari. What do we do? Get rid of her. Just let her go. We know. Zoe Stark. Who's Zoe Stark, man? Zoe Stark. You people are fucking mental. You're fucking mental. This has nothing to do with Ari Emanuel. Nothing to do with Mark Shapiro. Nothing. The only thing that it has to do with Ari and Mark Shapiro is they give Triple H a number, and Triple H and Nick Khan go over the names, and Triple H makes the appropriate cuts so that he meets the quota of Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro. And whoever else is on the fucking board of directors, which right now are public enemy number 1. If you're going to blame anybody, blame Triple H. Every time there were cuts, who Who did we blame? Did we blame Michael Hayes? Did we blame the fucking board of directors surrounding Vince McMahon? Or was it Vincent Kennedy McMahon who made the budget cuts? So why would anybody be in a position to deflect the budget cuts today away from Paul Levesque? You know, it's not even worth A, ranting about, B, losing my voice over, or C, getting that upset about. We all knew cuts were coming. If you want to be upset at a certain aspect of today's budget cuts, you should be upset over the fact that the creative team is fucking garbage. From top to bottom. Every single motherfucking one of them. They are garbage. They don't belong in the seat that they sit in. They don't deserve their jobs. If anybody should be fucking cut, it's the fucking writing team that needs to be fucking cut. This show is fucking garbage. And I mean that from the bottom of my fucking soul. This show is fucking deplorable. I don't know how anybody looks at this show and finds themselves entertained for 3 hours. It makes me fucking sad. It legitimately makes my heart cry. I can't physically fucking cry because we all know that this shit is never gonna get better. It fucking pains me that I gotta sit here and waste my fucking time watching Danhausen versus the fucking Miz on a Friday night after WrestleMania. WWE made a lot of budget cuts today. A lot of budget cuts today. So many, I don't even know where to fucking begin, honestly. We start to see these come in around 5 p.m. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time today. Nikki Cross, who played quote-unquote Sister Abigail in the Wyatt Six. Nikki Cross, you're gonna find a theme here. Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy, Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, and Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy, all 5 of them, released. You know what bothers me about that? Hey, I'm not surprised. They had some of the worst pro wrestling television of the entire year. Am I going to blame the Wyatt Six for the content and material that they were given on Friday night? And the opponents that they were given for the last 6 months? Am I going to blame them for the opponents that they were given for the last 6 months? Or am I going to blame Triple H? I'm not surprised.
Well, the whole point was to honor Bray Wyatt.
This is what happens when you put
And the whole point
so
of the Wyatt
much
Six was
hype
to honor Bray Wyatt.
into something.
But that's what Bray wanted. He wanted the fans.
After the Wyatt Six emerged with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy as their leader, you were never going to ever get that ever again. They clearly didn't know where they wanted to go from that moment on. How could you go and advance their entire story from a situation and a debut like that? They left the entire backstage area in blood. They quote-unquote murdered everybody. It was a scene out of a horror movie. This is coming from the same guy in Triple H who says that they make movies similar to Marvel and DC. I guess his script writers for these so-called movies clearly didn't know how to script a movie or anything regarding the Wyatt Six. also bothers me about this?
After losing. I mean,
Why
Bo
anybody
Dallas
gave them
had
any
be-
fucking hope
Bo
for the
Dallas
Wyatt
had
Six?
become
Why
already
they
promos
gave
saying that the
any
Wyatt
of
Six
the
wasn't
writing
back.
team
I'm
any
gonna win,
fucking
I'm gonna
trust
win,
or
but the
hope
Wyatt Six
in the
will be
Wyatt
back on
Six
TV real
after
soon.
we had to watch the Wyatt family fail time and time and time and time again? The one time that they got it right is when Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber. And you know what happened then? They still fucked it up. Because the story regarding Randy Orton and Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt, it all got fucked up. The one story that they had, they fucked it up. And it never went back to being that way ever again. Luke Harper got fired, and Bray Wyatt eventually disappeared. If this company is capable of releasing Bray Wyatt, what did you think they were going to do with his younger, not Bray Wyatt's-like brother in Bo Dallas? Did you genuinely think they were going to do something with Bray's little brother? All because Bray has now passed on and is no longer with us? Do you think that matters to these fucking people? They don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit. But what really grinds my fucking gears about releasing the entire fucking group, never mind one, they released all fucking 5 of them. What really grinds my fucking gears about it is that you did not even tap into any of the fucking members at all. You didn't let them fucking speak. You didn't let them get their point across. You didn't let their characters develop on TV. You never, ever, ever, ever gave us an insight into who they were. All we knew of them is that, oh, look, it's Eric Rowan. He used to be Bray's good friend in the Wyatt family, and now he's paying homage to Bray, and now he's in the Wyatt Six, being led by Bray's brother. It's the only one that had any true connection outside of Bo. Nikki Cross, did we ever get an explanation as to why the fuck she went from superhero to all of a sudden an undead character? Why did she turn to the dark side? Why was she Sister Abigail? What made her want to become Sister Abigail? How did she get engulfed in the Wyatt universe? Where did Joe Gacy come from? Where did Dexter Lumis come from? You do realize that we never got one fucking explanation about any of these fucking people on television. You couldn't find one singular thing to tap into any one of these people.
The only explanation that we got was
Not
Bray
one
Wyatt
thing
and
that was good
The
enough
only
to
explanation that
keep,
we got was
to
from Bo
maybe
Dallas
see if
and
you
from
could get
Eric
your
Rowan.
return on your
That's
investment.
it.
If the whole group failed, every fucking one of them failed. There was nothing that was saving any one of them. Nikki Cross, I don't even think Nikki Cross wrestled one singles match as Sister Abigail. Not one. She only wrestled in multi-person matches. Bo Dallas, I thought he did. When Bray was still with us, and we got Uncle Howdy, you guys know what I'm talking about. When Bo was with Bray, and we got like the full-fledged Uncle Howdy character on TV with Bray Wyatt, he's coming down, he's like flipping his fucking cane, he's doing the snap of the fingers, man, he was fucking cool.
I gotta end.
I don't know what the fuck this version was.
To build up a new theme. That's my
Joe Gacy?
It's the Wyatt Six.
There was nothing redeeming about Joe Gacy.
And then the final
NXT doesn't need people. I mean, you
got
gutted half the fucking roster down there. You couldn't move him back down to NXT. What about Dexter Lumis?
And build the first one.
How many times does Dexter Lumis gotta have fucking shit handed to him? Guy's a solid hand.
The new theme. That's my final.
Nothing for him in NXT? Nothing for him at all on the main roster. Get rid of him. Just get rid of him. It's almost like WWE wanted to get rid of all of them because they were fucking sick and tired of booking for this fucking nonsensical group with superpowers. It's almost like they were burdened by having any sort of creativity. This is what happens when you give the brainchild of Bray Wyatt to Bo, and Bo's got to give it right back to the writing team. They failed Bray, and now they failed Bo, and I'm sure Bray is rolling over in his fucking grave to watch his family get fired again!
Boy, he's still young. 36 years old. I handle now very young.
I said it from day
I
one!
have my kid when I was very, very young.
The Wyatt Six will fail if you book them with supernatural powers! They did the same thing that they did with the Wyatt family. They did the same thing that they did with Bray and The Fiend. The same thing. They pigeonholed them into one fucking thing, and that was it. They had no chance to survive. You just went full-fledged character, full-fledged Wyatts, instead of humanizing them in some sort of way. That's why they failed. That's why the Wyatts failed.
You only gave him the championship. You lost the championship.
Am I surprised?
Now you lose a non-title
No.
matches. Do they think they bumped
No, I'm not.
seriously? Well, first of all, I wasn't
But
really
this
sold on punch them in
shouldn't be
1-1.
surprising to anybody.
No, I wasn't waiting. And to be
You know what
honest,
fucking bothers me about
I'm not really
throwing
sold
a
on
whole group
Black
away?
anymore.
Do you know what fucking bothers me about releasing a whole group? And I don't want to give him any sort of clout or any sort of positive, but I'm going to. Because he's always been an asshole to me for no reason. Zero reason. He was upset because I predicted his termination 5 weeks before it happened, and guess who was right? Me. I'm right more than I am wrong, and the people that watch me know that. The one thing that bothers me about releasing a whole group.
I think Aleister Black and I was
Look
actually
at what
there
they
in the
did
crowd.
to Hit
I'm
Row.
a big fan of
They released
Aleister
all of
Black,
them.
Tommy, and
They released Ashanti the
Aleister Black,
Adonis.
Tommy, and
They released
my
Swerve,
real name is
and they
Tommy.
released AJ
Aleister Black
Francis,
is my
top dollar.
wing name.
Swerve went
My
on to
real
become
name, my birth
one of
name
AEW's
is,
biggest
Tommy.
stars. He
Tommy
broke
and,
out, he became a main event player.
Aleister Black.
AJ Francis went to TNA, he seems to be doing very well for himself. He's standing on his own, he got into decent shape. He's doing really good over there. I don't know what Adonis is doing. But the point I'm trying to make is, WWE doesn't even have the mindset to wait and be patient to see if this group contained somebody that could break out. Yeah, get rid of him. Get rid of the whole fucking group. Because that's exactly what they thought when they released Hit Row. Hey, those guys ain't going nowhere, man. They're nothing but ghetto trash. I get rid of them. They'll fucking flounder around on the indies and goodbye. Meanwhile, Swerve is one of the biggest talents in the fucking industry. Maybe you shouldn't be so fucking quick to release a whole fucking group. But I'm not TKO. I'm not Triple H. Dante Chen got released. Who? NXT. Dante Chen. He got released by WWE. Andre Chase. I guess this is what they call a teachable moment for Andre Chase. That gimmick was never going to go anywhere on the main roster. A gimmick, I don't know how much he has a say in what he does on television or what type of character he wants to play.
I've been with the company
But
since 2000.
Dante Chen
Really, I'm actually 53.
and
I was
Andre
never a fan. I was
Chase,
kind of young.
not surprising. Andre Chase alone is not surprising.
I'm close to age of much, bro.
That gimmick was not going to succeed on the main roster. You're not going to take Dean Douglas 2.0 in 2026 and put him on the main roster. Not going to work.
Juan Killings.
Either you
your
change
your birth name?
or adapt
Juan Killings.
and die on the main roster. One or the other. Adapt or die on the main roster.
Hey, I recognize you.
Well, they changed Tony D'Angelo's gimmick. Do you think the Italian guy, the Italian mobster, was going to work all the way to the main roster? Bro, that would have been release after a year. So he changed his gimmick. He changed his persona. And now that's given him a little bit of longevity. Apollo Crews, released by the WWE. I'm surprised, not at Apollo Crews' release. I am surprised that Apollo Crews has lasted 10 fucking years and got main roster money for doing absolutely television as possible. He made it this far without actually doing much of anything. I think that's a testament to him and Apollo Crews. Am I surprised by this? No. I'm surprised this didn't happen 3 or 4 years ago. He outlasted them all. Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar was released by WWE. This guy is in the midst of surgery. He's going to be out for a while. Released. WWE released Santos Escobar even though he was out injured. They moved him from the main roster down to AAA. This was after they fucking let his contract lapse. He just walked. He just walked. They brought him back, sat him backstage for another couple of months. Remember that they actually signed this guy back to the company for more money and a better spot, only to move him down to AAA. He gets hurt, and then he gets fired. I enjoyed Santos's work. I thought Santos had a lot of upside, especially when WWE was looking for some really great Mexican talent, some luchador talent, outside of Rey Mysterio, who's not going to be there, and before they got a Dragon Lee and a Rey Fenix and a Penta. I thought Santos Escobar had an in. But I guess they realized, well, we got Penta, we got Dragon Lee, we got Rey Fenix on reserve. He's in Polcatraz right now doing God knows what. So he's on the back burner. They got him when they want him. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio. Why do we need Santos Escobar for? You know, Ludwig Kaiser, who's playing El Grande Americano, if you can go and find yourself another Kaiser who's German, playing a Mexican luchador speaking Spanish on AAA television, the fuck do we need Santos Escobar for? It's exactly what they're thinking. We got this guy, we're paying him whatever we're paying him. We don't need this fucking guy. If this guy can do what Santos Escobar was supposed to do for all these years, why the fuck are we employing Santos Escobar? That's not me speaking, that's Triple H and TKO thinking. He's gone. Several NXT talents released. The list includes Trill London. Who? London Broil. Trill London. Serena Linton, Chris Island, Tyreek Igwe, Tyson DuPont, Malik Blade, and Luca Crucifino. All gone. Tyra May Steele was the biggest name that I remembered from this list because Tyra May Steele actually, didn't she just win LFG on A&E? I thought with the Olympic gold medalist gimmick and the Olympic gold medals for a female wrestler, I thought that she would have some upside. That's a strange one. Was she not coming along as well as they wanted? Or maybe she was a fucking weirdo. Some people got confused by some tweets that she put out. She was describing her dream, and in her dream, people were misinterpreting the words that she put on Twitter, that she had this dream. People misinterpreted it as her getting let go by WWE. I guess she's a fucking fortune teller because it only took a few weeks later she got released from WWE. Those are the NXT talents that got released. Now for the bigger names that got released, which these are the names that are pissing people off. The Motor City Machine Guns. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, gone from WWE. I know there are people out there that highly regard the Motor City Machine Guns. I think they're fucking great. I think Alex Shelley's fucking great. Honestly. The tag team division, when they came into the company, was fucking dead. The tag team division, while they were there, was fucking dead. The only teams that I even remember being on SmackDown were them, Axiom, which I'm surprised they made the cut here, and they were not released. Machine Guns, Axiom, and what's his name?
Going into this match, I didn't give a fuck.
Fraxium.
Axiom's
the guy with the mask.
You think
Fraxium,
gonna put Brock Lesnar to lose?
Nathan Frazier, and
Not sure if
Axiom.
he's supposed to win. They're supposed to be Roman Reigns. Not sure about that.
The Garzas were the other team. The Street Profits, they were there, and then they took a 6-month sabbatical. They got moved to Monday Night Raw. We did have DIY. Outside that, we had the Wyatts and the MFTs. I mean, the tag team division was fucking dead. Let's be real. The tag team division was as unexciting as it sounds. They were going nowhere. The level of creative that Triple H and his team had for the Motor City Machine Guns for the last how many months, chat? 3 months? This was well before WrestleMania. This was like after the Chamber. The extent that the writing team on Friday night had for the Motor City Machine Guns was to try and convince Johnny Gargano that he still was Johnny Wrestling. As Johnny Gargano laid on a fucking production crate for months and months. While Alex Shelley tried to convince Johnny Gargano, and Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano's wife, sought help from Alex Shelley. Chris Sabin was getting angry, thinking that Alex Shelley wasn't all about the Motor City Machine Guns. That he'd rather help Johnny Gargano than focus on the Motor City Machine Guns. I'll tell you what, Chris Sabin, it was Triple H and the fucking writing team that gave up on the Motor City Machine Guns long before you thought Alex Shelley gave up on the Motor City Machine Guns. They came to WWE because it was a desire to join WWE after all this time. And they went nowhere. The highest of highs that they reached was in week 2, when they beat the Bloodline for the Tag Team Championships. Then they held those titles for what? 4 weeks, 5 weeks? Probably less than that. And then lost them. That was it. Never got back there ever again. They were used in this circle jerk of fucking tag teams. Barely got a reaction. Their theme music was fucking terrible. They went out there and wrestled a clinic with several different teams. Not a single fucking reaction. Over 20 years as a fucking team. Both guys also accomplished singles performers. Alex Shelley's a former TNA World Champion.
A lot of these matches were very much. I think there were 3 matches at a given time. 7 fucking minutes.
The Machine Guns are out of bullets.
7 minutes.
I have to ask.
You know what?
What tag team division do you have on Friday night now that you released?
ESPN.
The Motor City Machine Guns and the Wyatt Six. What are you actively doing to replace those tag teams now? Now we're stuck with R-Truth and Damian Priest. They're the tag team champions. We're stuck with Kit Wilson and The Miz. We're stuck with the MFTs. Am I missing anybody? Who else am I missing? Fraxium's still there. I guarantee you, we're not going to see Fraxium. You know, we're not even done with the releases. They actually may be a part of the releases. Believe it or not. We're not done yet. And on Monday Night Raw, we got Logan Paul and Austin Theory. We got the Street Profits, and we got the Usos. We're supposed to have the Creeds. I don't know where the fuck they are. We got the Garzas. They may end up on the chopping block as well, for all we fucking know. That's another team that I'm surprised has made the list of people not cut. We're trying to say is, and I've been saying this since 2016, can we now stop the fucking games, stop the charades, let's merge the tag team divisions. How can anybody now justify that we need 2 sets of tag team fucking championships?
Fine, and you can beat me.
Seriously.
I don't respect you.
You want to cut the Motor City Machine Guns. Out of everybody on this list, you couldn't find one redeeming fucking thing about Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin? NXT doesn't need tag teams. They couldn't be a veteran presence down in NXT. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Now they wait 90 days, and where do you think they're gonna go? They should have went to this place before they even thought about going to WWE. They wouldn't be in this predicament. They're gonna wait their 90 days now, and they're gonna end up in All Elite Wrestling. And then we're gonna get Motor City Machine Guns and the Young Bucks for the tag team titles at the end of 2026. Bookmark it. Tony Khan, as soon as the 90 days are up on Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin's contract, Tony Khan has already dialed their fucking phone number, and he's letting it sit on his iPhone or Android, and he's waiting to push that final digit. He's already put it in his fucking phone as of tonight.
An active performer. You don't show full time.
They are as good as elite.
Back then he was a
Mark my words.
When he first came to the company. When he only worked
They
less.
could go back to TNA.
Logan Paul is acting performer. You don't show
That
full
would
time.
mean TNA has to offer them money.
Which I don't mind.
Money which I don't think TNA actually has right now. It'd be great if they go back to where they were actually appreciated. To go back to where they built that fucking place for years and years and years and years. I just think Tony Khan's gonna offer them way too much money at this late stage of their career for them to say no. Disgusting. Disgusting.
I think the weaker match was the Divas match, the Bellas versus Paige and AJ Lee.
Aleister Black.
They were 5 minutes.
And Zelina Vega.
I think this might have been the weakest match on the card. They were 5 minutes. This might have been your bathroom break. I think it was the weakest match on the card.
The grass isn't always greener on the other side, chat. I think today, I think in 2026, with the incredible downturn in leadership in the company, and the fact that they have now moved so far gone from what pro wrestling should be in WWE, the fact that they've given you advertisement mania, commercial mania, everything's a fucking ad, everything's about money, 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 celebrity, 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 and then pro wrestling. Like the pro wrestling was interrupting the commercials on Saturday and Sunday last weekend. Aleister Black, he rejoined the WWE legitimately on the Friday night after WrestleMania 1 year ago. You do realize that. They gave this guy 1 year. They let Karrion Kross walk. They let Scarlett walk. They gave their gimmick to Black and Zelina and said, yeah, we had enough of this. I can't remember one single fucking meaningful thing that either Zelina Vega or Aleister Black have done together on Friday Night SmackDown. The only thing that I remember from Aleister Black was that he threw a fireball at Damian Priest on SmackDown in a main event. That was it. I can't really pinpoint anything else for his entire 1 year run there. Aleister Black, he was one of the brightest stars to join Triple H's NXT Black and Gold. Guy was a main event guy. A main event guy. He had the look. He had the promo. He had the aura. He had the entrance and the entrance music. He was very, very good in the ring. Then he made the main roster. Then they summoned him. And you know when Vince summoned one of Triple H's pet projects, that Vince was summoning them to basically walk them to the fucking altar and sacrifice them to the fucking uncreative gods of pro wrestling where they banish forever. This guy sat in a broom closet for 7 months. Fight me! Fight me! I think all that ammonia was getting to him. Eventually, it was going to start getting to him.
Probably Jimmy and Jay. I took out Jimmy.
Then they give him, out of the blue, something that fans got excited about for 1 week. They give him the Dark Father. This comic book / cartoonish vignette that they gave him. The Book of the Dark Father. And it was about to feud with Big E. After that, goodbye. Goodbye. They locked that fucking broom closet never to be opened again. Goodbye. Gone. He took the Dark Father shtick. We saw some creepy vignettes, some really cool vignettes. He shows up in Miami on Dynamite 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it may be, and attacked Cody Rhodes on Dynamite in Miami, Florida. Fans went fucking crazy. People, me, everybody in the community. There's the next AEW World Champion. There's the next main event guy. Aleister Black went on to do none of that. None of that. I can't even tell you or remember when his last singles match was in AEW. The only one I remember is Adam Copeland in a steel cage match for the TNT title. One that Aleister Black or Malachi then should have won. I'm assuming the reason why he didn't work singles and the reason that people were running with was, oh, he didn't want to lose. He was very iffy on who he lost to. He was being very selfish. All these things. All these things. I don't think that was it. He was very open and very well documenting that he was hurt. He got acupuncture, he got work on his back, his back was all fucked up. It was to a point where he even, I believe, contemplated retiring. That's how bad his back was. And that's from years and years and years of abuse. They opt to do nothing with it. He exits AEW. He joins WWE legitimately a year to the day. The Friday night after WrestleMania last year, he made his return. We were all excited. He's back home. He's back home. It took them almost 3 months to start getting his wheels going. How do you bring this guy back and not immediately get him involved? How do you bring this guy back and don't have a fucking plan for him? They gave him the old gimmick, they gave him the old fucking entrance, they gave him the old theme. It just wasn't resonating. It wasn't working. Then they start to get him going a little bit. He's wrestling Carmelo Hayes, and he's wrestling Sami Zayn, and they're getting him in there with some bigger names. It came to a point where, as of this year, he was pretty regular on the show. He was backstage, he was taunting Sami Zayn, he was whispering to Randy Orton. He was in everybody's business. You saw him standing behind in some of those segments with Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll. He was at least a presence on the show. There was a report that Aleister Black was supposed to be the guy that whispered to Randy Orton, was the factor in Randy Orton turning into the diabolical Viper again. That was all going to be Aleister Black's doing. That Aleister Black was going to be the one to convince him to bring out the punt kick and reveal your real self to Cody. Ari Emanuel wanted Pat McAfee. Aleister Black was supposed to wrestle Randy Orton at WrestleMania. If not, Aleister Black was going to be the one to whisper to Randy Orton to bring out the old Viper against Cody Rhodes. Either way you look at it, semi-main event, main event level spot for Aleister Black. He got trumped by Pat McAfee. Ari Emanuel and TKO wanted Pat McAfee in that spot, which the way that I look at it from the outside looking in, didn't go to Aleister Black, and theoretically got Aleister Black fired. Because that's what Triple H wanted for him, that was at least the idea. If he went with that idea, it may have been something that saved his job. Ari Emanuel wanted Pat McAfee, and Aleister Black is now out of a job. WWE creative figured, well, if he's not going to factor into that now, it's a little too late. We went on and gave Randy Pat McAfee, and now he's the Viper all over again. We don't need Malachi or Aleister. Goodbye. I'm not the biggest fan of Zelina Vega. I thought the work that Zelina Vega did largely as United States champion was some of the worst that we've seen in that entire women's division. They didn't really do her any favors either. They didn't do anything to really enhance who she is, tell us who she is, what makes her special. They basically gave her the backing theme music for Friday Night Smackdown as her theme music. Nothing about her resonated with the live audience at all. And then they finally started using Zelina to the best of her ability. Paired her with her husband. Made her a manager/valet. Mouthpiece. And the acting, the gimmick, worked. She looked the part. She sounded the part. She was evil, just like he was. Demonic or black, like he was. She played it well. Goodbye. Imagine being Aleister Black. Imagine being Aleister Black. Joining the WWE, working your ass off to become a main event guy with hopes and aspirations of finally breaking through, to get to Vince McMahon, to get fucking fired after 7 months of sitting in a fucking broom closet, to go to AEW and do nothing for 4 years, to go back to Triple H because you felt like this place would have been better with Triple H in charge of your creative, only to get fired again 1 year later. You don't hate these people enough. I understand it's a fucking business. But how are you, Triple H, looking at the fucking list of talent to cut, and that man's name is on your fucking lips? Knowing that he came back here instead of going elsewhere where he didn't need you. He came back here because he trusted you. He trusted you.
And a slap in the face to him. Before I punch you in the face. Yeah, that's my stuff. Nobody cares.
Zoe Stark got released. Let's be real, Zoe Stark didn't really do anything on the main roster. I barely remember anything she did. She was in a faction with Shayna Baszler and... what's her name? Sonya Deville. The only thing I know about Zoe Stark is that Triple H and Shawn Michaels loved Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark was such a bright star in NXT. I mean, they shoved her in your face so vehemently on NXT. It was like, alright, what the fuck does this woman have over everybody else? They eventually called her up to the main roster. They stuck her with Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler. That went nowhere. She settled into a fucking backstage catering role or jobber role. She was a jobber to the rest of the fucking roster. Until that one fateful night, she got injured. I still hear her shrieks in the middle of that ring on that Monday Night Raw. Completely blew out her knee. One of the worst injuries that we saw all year last year. This woman rehabbed, she got surgery, she rehabbed, she's fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. She was even at the fucking Hall of Fame red carpet. All smiles.
He had the opportunity, given how long he was on the run for your cut.
Do you know, chat, that I read today that Zoe Stark was just given her clearance to return to active in-ring competition?
Violence in every area solve a problem.
She went 9 months of surgery, training, and rehabilitation to get back to doing the one thing that she loves to do more than anything in this life. And she gets a phone call that probably lasted 90 seconds, wishing her well in her future endeavors. Fired. How fucked up is that?
That's why Commissioner Tiff was upset.
How fucked up is that?
That's why Commissioner Tiff and the mayor was upset that he's being lied on it, because he walked up behind a person and shot him in the back with a ghost gun who was a human being.
You don't hate these people enough. Am I surprised? No.
Ever.
No.
I didn't know.
The last time they did that, they did it to Carl Anderson. They fired Carl Anderson while he was out injured. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit about anybody. They just did it to Santos Escobar. Out injured. Goodbye. We'll pay for your rehabilitation and your surgery, but we wish you well in your future endeavors. Last, but certainly not least, WWE comes to terms on the release of Kairi Sane.
Well, isn't that a little bit different? Because, well, when the CEO...
Kairi made her return back to WWE at Crown Jewel, November of 2023. She joined Damage Control with Dakota Kai and Bayley. This is Kairi Sane's second stint with the WWE. The first stint was really exciting. NXT, we got another great Japanese talent like Asuka and Io to join the company. Pirate Princess. She had a great theme, she had a great aura about her, a great entrance. Excellent in the ring. She got let go. She goes and does her shit back in Japan. She comes back to WWE in 2023.
Well, the allegation is just a cold-blooded kill. There's no terrorism.
She does the whole Damage Control deal. And then she's right back to doing the Kabuki Warriors with Asuka, because that's their level of creativity.
Oh, that's not for using the courtroom. We will absolutely challenge all this. We hope.
Do you know what fucking pisses me off the most about this chat?
Not in the public or the media.
Do you know what pisses me off more than anything out of everything we just discussed here? And this lays right in the lap of Paul Levesque. This goes to show you, if you need a fucking prime example of how clueless this writing team is, if you need a prime example of how fucking awful this writing team is, and how every single fucking one of them should be on this list instead of a Black and a Kyrie and a Dexter Loomis, Apollo Crews, the Motor City Machine Guns, I would, without a shadow of a doubt, I wouldn't even blink, and they'd all be on this list. Every single fucking one of them. Do you want to know how awful they are?
I covered lots of high-profile cases.
have told a story with Asuka and Kairi Sane for how long, Chad? How long has it been exactly? We've been doing this since what? Survivor Series? Asuka, Kairi, Io, Rhea, Io and her Joshi soulmates. They don't understand why she's with Rhea, Io. How come they're not with them? They're family. Rhea's not family. We've been doing this since Survivor Series. Gotta be. November, December, January. That first Raw in January, they win the tag team titles. Rhea and Io do, right? For some weird reason, there's a women's tag team resurgence in the company this year. Coincidentally, when Tony Khan creates women's tag team championships in AEW, WWE finally wants to get on board with the women's tag team division. January, February, March, April. WrestleMania was last weekend, Chad. WrestleMania Sunday housed 6 matches only. WrestleMania Saturday had 7 matches. Well, what was it? 5 matches on... What was it? 5 matches on Sunday? 7 on Saturday, 6 on... No, it was 5, right? 6 on Saturday, 5 on Sunday? Whatever it may be. There was a 1-match differential. There was 1 spot open on Sunday for an extra match. 1. Legitimately last weekend. 6 on Saturday, okay, so 6 on Sunday, 7 on Saturday. There you go. There's a 1-week differential, Chad. You don't think that Triple H, Nick Khan, and all the people that he talks to about creative and everything else that's happening on TV, you don't think that Triple H, Paul Levesque, knew that there were budget cuts coming? The talent certainly didn't know. They had a feeling, they had an intuition, but they didn't know. They didn't know today was going to be release day. You don't think Triple H knew? Kairi wrestled her last match against Io on Monday. On Monday, the Raw after WrestleMania, we were in the middle of a storyline. Rhea Ripley moved over to Friday Night Smackdown. Io's on Monday night. She's going to take care of the Kabuki Warriors issue. Kairi struggling. Do I stay with Asuka? Is Io right? Is Asuka using me? Is Asuka bullying me? Do I go back to Io, who's my real friend, and Asuka is not my real friend? There was a tangible story there. Triple H knew exactly when these budget cuts were happening. Triple H also opted to not give Io, Asuka, and Kairi a payoff. He opted to not give them a payoff at WrestleMania. Instead, we had to sit through Danhausen slop with fucking midgets. John Cena, The Miz, and Kit Wilson. You don't think that man knew these budget cuts were coming? Triple H knew these budget cuts were coming, opted to not give Kairi, Io, and Asuka a payoff at WrestleMania, and now everything that we've had to sit through with Kairi being the centralized figure in this story is now wasted. It is wasted. You don't hate them enough. That is inexcusable. There is no fucking excuse for why the series of events I just documented needed to happen.
And the slap in the face.
You let this shit play out and waste my fucking time for 6 or 7 months, and then you want to make believe that everything's all right because budget cuts. Motherfucker, I hope that you are actually fired when the time comes. Your day is coming, motherfucker. Your day is coming. There's no more excuses here. There's no more excuses. There's no more excuses for this fucking level of absolute filth. There's no more excuses for how terrible this Friday night show is. There's no more excuses. There is absolutely all fucking every show that we watch seemingly gets worse and worse. Motherfucker, the handcuffs are off. I don't give a fuck. I'm getting in the ring every Monday and every Friday, and I'm boxing like fucking Mike Tyson in his motherfucking prime. I'm holding these people accountable until there is physical, tangible substance in the form of change. Change.
It's important to go to trial. Because it's going to be a difficult case for a trial, whether it's a hung jury or an acquittal or a mid-trial. So that way Karen and her defense Karen and Mark can file these appeal with an appellate issue. Could make it difficult for the prosecution.
These people come back.
Not unless you convict Luigi.
They come back because you were there. Aleister Black and Kairi Sane specifically. I'm even going to include the Wyatt Six in this because I'm assuming that they felt like Triple H can't do as bad as Vince did with our family. I'm going to include them.
Well, the way it worked, you cannot.
These people came back here to work for you. And in the case of Aleister Black, he wasn't even given a fucking chance. Oh, that's steady! Okay, no problem! Don't give me this.
Well, the way it works, you cannot visit an inmate.
Waste for 5 months out of the 12 he was back.
Well, the way it works,
you just started using him this year.
You cannot visit an inmate. An inmate has to reach out to you.
How are you going to let a story with Kairi Sane just get up and walk away?
And the prison here has to
let's get rid of her.
To be a prisoner. So, some stranger can...
Do you realize the story that you were telling on Monday night?
Luigi has to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to see acting.
Or was I watching make-believe? Now Leo and Asuka have a reason to fight. For what reason?
Well,
the whole reason is the fucking one you got caught here. The one you released. Kairi's gonna end up in AEW. Apollo Crews will probably end up on the Indies/Ring of Honor. I don't know where Aleister Black goes. Aleister Black's just better off. At this point, I don't trust Tony Khan. I don't trust Triple H. I'm just gonna go out and do my Matt Cardona/Karrion Kross run on the Indies. Zoe Stark is gonna kill it on the Indies. If she's ready to go, 100% cleared to go, she's gonna kill it on the Indies. The Motor City Machine Guns are going to absolutely go to AEW. Where the Wyatt Six go, I have no fucking idea. All I'll say is this in closing. Pro wrestling now. Though it may be bad on Monday, Friday, Wednesday seems to be pick and choose who's on TV, loaded roster. Some weeks are good, most weeks are bad. It looks like pro wrestling in 2026, all over the place, is healthy. pro wrestling on the indies is still thriving
Well,
at a
no
high
one cares
level.
about the CEO or the
There
healthcare.
are
When
plenty
it comes
of
to
places to
healthcare,
work.
nobody cares.
All
What
because
they
you
did
got
was
fired
what
from
they
this
did.
commercialized,
The CEO is a murderer.
fucking
Breaking that
soulless
down. Superman murdered
dump
Brian Townsend.
that this
The
has turned
CEO
into.
is a murderer. He kills people every
You
year.
should be looking
He
at this
denies
as a
people he
blessing.
killed every year. He's the murderer, not Luigi.
This place has
He's
turned
the CEO of
into
Idaho.
something that we don't even recognize anymore. There is no heartbeat in this company anymore. There is no soul in this company anymore. That glare, that glimmer in the eye of WWE is fading. It's basically dead. Look at what they did to WrestleMania. The essence, the true essence of WrestleMania is dead. And with that, the company is dead. Financially, they're doing unbelievable. Financially, the people up at the top are making more money than they ever have, ever.
The people are condoning murder for
But us,
really,
the little people, the people that pump money into this fucking demonic, satanic, fucking, absolute evil fucking company, the little people, us, we're the ones getting fucked. We're the ones getting fucked every single week. They don't give a shit about us. They don't give a shit about you. The indies and pro wrestling in 2026, everything is thriving. There is work to be had. There are opportunities to be had. There is a promoter out there that already has these people on the fucking phone. They can't do business until 90 days for the main roster, 30 days for the NXT. Evolved talent. There will be opportunities. Everybody that you heard here, read today on Twitter get released, they will be fine. They will go and find homes. There is a company that is waiting with open arms for every single one of these people. Multiple opportunities. Kaylee Ray got released. I didn't even fucking put Alba Fire on the list. Kaylee Ray got released. She was as good as dead when Piper Niven went down with injury. Don't know why she didn't stay in NXT. She had something cooking down there, and as soon as they called her up to the main roster, goodbye. As soon as they changed her name to Kaylee Ray, or Alba Fire, goodbye. Done. As soon as they gave her the Alba Fire gimmick, done. The NXT UK run, that was the Kaylee Ray that we knew. This Alba Fire, I don't know what the fuck this was. She's already getting hit up for matches. Dakota Kai just tweeted her, I want Kaylee Ray when the time comes. Bro, everybody's gonna be fine. Legitimately, everybody's gonna be fine here. Now it's up to you. It's up to you, the fan. And I know this is more difficult for people to actually go out there and do. People say one thing and don't follow up on it. But I'm telling you, if you are a fan of any of these people, and you genuinely care about helping them, buy a t-shirt, buy a ticket to see them perform, support them, follow them on social media, show your support in any way that you can. Their life is not over. Their career is not over. In some instances, their career is only beginning. Some of the most exciting shit happens when one chapter closes and a new one begins. There's that palpable excitement. There's that refreshed feeling you get. It's always great to go out there and finally feel free and do whatever the fuck you want. No longer are you held down by fucking people who are absolutely clueless at their job because of one reason or another. Politics getting involved, or we don't have too much TV time, or we gotta pump fucking an hour and a half full of ads on a 3-hour show, and we get no opportunities. You don't gotta worry about that anymore. You don't. Go out and support. Go out and buy a ticket. Go out and buy a show that these people are performing on. Go out and buy merchandise. You don't hate these people enough. WWE should be fucking ashamed of themselves. And again, I need to reiterate what I mentioned in the beginning of this show. If you're blaming Ari Emanuel Mark Shapiro and the rest of TKO, stop. Triple H is the one who makes the decisions on who gets cut, just like Vince McMahon made the decisions on who got cut. TKO gave Nick Khan and Triple H a number that needed to be met, and he made that number by cutting the talent that he chose. Mark Shapiro and Ari Emanuel aren't thinking about Kairi Sane and Apollo Crews and fucking Alba Fire. Get with the fucking program. These decisions were made by one person and one person only with the help of another person, Nick Khan and Triple H.
It's been over a year.
Direct your anger at him. We can blame TKO for a lot of shit, especially what we got at WrestleMania. But shit like this on the week to week, you know who to blame, and it ain't Ari Emanuel. We're gonna get into this show tonight. I want to thank you guys for joining me here on Friday night. We have 4,600 people.
These are non-televised men, so
Who cares? They cut.
Did you know that PetSmart has auto ship? Well, now you do. Smart deals, low prices. PetSmart, anything for
I
pets.
will say this, I'm a pretty good man.
What makes a good day great?
Well, you want to count the house?
Sometimes.
These are non-televised men.
Suck my dick. BJMPTV. Get the fuck out. You
If she was
fucking
kidnapped,
bum.
this is an 84-year-old woman. This is a kidnapping.
Hit me up on Instagram so I know how to block you and when to block you, you fucking retard. Get out.
For a couple of weeks or a couple of months. After all this time, we still.
Oh, Ricardo, you got a problem too? Oh, we finally get to the show. You got a fucking problem, Ricardo. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Ricardo. You got a fucking problem? Let me see you go fucking limp and silent now, Ricardo.
I refuse to believe that.
Say another word, Ricardo. I dare you. I dare you. Say another word.
Who has a weak heart and has some medication. What do you need this lady for? What do you need?
I'll get started when I want to get fucking started. Who are you, my fucking editor? My live stream agent? Ricardo?
You know where it is. Yeah, the fucking everything. We sympathize innocent
Yeah, like I thought.
No
Pussy.
pedophile, serial killer, they are not innocent. They don't deserve any justice.
Get him out. I see Issa in the chat. I just want to say, I love Issa.
It says most Monaco.
I was in Vegas for a day and a half. I'm sorry I didn't see you for at least 3 drinks. I just want to say I'm proud of Issa. Congratulations to Issa. She got a lot of interviews this week in Vegas. Living the life. So if you guys are not subscribed to Issa or following the resident NYC Demon Diva, go and support and go check her out. One of the few people that I actually like in this godforsaken community. You know, I have some hot tea here, Ricardo. Do you mind, Ricardo? I'm going to take a sip of my nice hot tea, being that I just ranted for an hour and a fucking half. It's still hot. Been sitting here since 11:20. It's still hot. Piping hot. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. Go and check out all the great. We got the similar feeling of Usos backing Roman, and Roman speaking to Jacob, saying, I don't know if the weight of the championship is going to be a problem for you or not. You can beat me and be the champion, and then the weight of the title is going to really showcase itself, or you lose lose, and then you acknowledge me. Meaning what per se? When Roman says that, that means he joins the bloodline and gets in line with Roman and follows Roman. That was very similar to what we got for 4 years. He did that to Jimmy, he did that to Jay. Now here on Friday, we got Solo Sikoa out here claiming, I brought you into the WWE. You were my family before they were your family. You're better off with me and not them. The Usos are claiming, well, Cody Rhodes is limping and he's hurt and he's down and out. Go after him. Don't go after the OTC. You can join us and we'll give you everything you want because we're family. But Ush, you're making a mistake. I don't get a sense that anything is new, and I can't really get past that. Because that was the one thing that I asked for coming out of Monday. How are you going to make this family dynamic different? Chat, by the end of this show, they didn't care to do different. They basically wanted to do the same thing the Bloodline's done for the last 5 years. End the show by putting someone through a fucking table. We're gonna need to change this up and do something different fast. Otherwise, people are gonna get very bored of this Bloodline story and whatever the Usos and Roman are doing. Kathy Kelly interviewed Kiana James and Julia backstage. This was about Julia's match later against Tiffany Stratton. He said if he wants to beat Roman and be champion, he should join the MFTs. He says he won't join Roman alone. He'll need an army. He says he needs an army. He has an army. Tama Tonga yanked the microphone out of Solo's hands, and we all thought that he was gonna scold Solo Sikoa. Solo looked at him with this, what the fuck are you doing look? Fatu X Solo, why, or Tama Tonga rather, said to Solo in regards to Fatu, why are we here wasting our time dealing with this? He points to Jacob. He is a lost cause. He asks if he thinks he can beat Roman. This guy thinks he can beat Roman. He can't even beat you. Now, I don't know if that's Tama Tonga trying to remain peaceful with Solo or throw Solo under the bus. I'm going to take the latter there. So we challenge him to a one-on-one match. He says he's all gas, no brakes, yada mean. Solo smiled and agreed to have a match in the main event with Jacob Fatu. I'm not really getting anything different here, chat. 1 week after we got out of WrestleMania, Jacob Fatu challenges Roman Reigns. We got the similar feeling of Usos backing Roman and Roman speaking to Jacob, saying, I don't know if the weight of the championship is going to be a problem for you or not. You can beat me and be the champion, and then the weight of the title is going to really showcase itself, or you lose and then you acknowledge me. Meaning what per se? When Roman says that, that means he joins the bloodline and gets in line with Roman and follows Roman. That was very similar to what we got for 4 years. He did that to Jimmy, he did that to Jay. Now here on Friday, we got Solo Sikoa out here claiming, I brought you into the WWE. You were my family before they were your family. You're better off with me and not them. The Usos are claiming, well, Cody Rhodes is limping and he's hurt and he's down and out. Go after him. Don't go after the OTC. You can join us and we'll give you everything you want because we're family. But Ush, you're making a mistake. I don't get a sense that anything is new, and I can't really get past that. Because that was the one thing that I asked for coming out of Monday. How are you going to make this family dynamic different? Chat, by the end of this show, they didn't care to do different. They basically wanted to do the same thing the Bloodline's done for the last 5 years. End the show by putting someone through a fucking table. We're gonna need to change this up and do something different fast. Otherwise, people are gonna get very bored of this Bloodline story and whatever the Usos and Roman are doing. Kathy Kelly interviewed Kiana James, and she goes to the top rope. Prettiest moonsault ever. 1, 2, 3. And Tiffany Stratton is now the new Women's United States Champion. You know, I don't want to be one of those people. I just have a funny feeling. I legitimately have a funny feeling. I hope I'm wrong. They took the belt off Julia. It crossed my mind that they took the belt off Julia because they're going to end up releasing Julia. I honestly think they've given up on Julia. For whatever reason. Julia is great. She's got a bubbly personality. It is the newest of the Fatal Influence members. Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. Very well. Well, you could beat me, but...
I'm going to end the video. Until that time, see you later. Hit that like button, leave a comment. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support. Made this video pretty long, so I'll see y'all later. Until that time. I think I made this video long enough. I will do Monday Night Raw next week. And I will go back to play NBA 2K26 my career. And I will play some Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.
I could do it. I just took out the rest of your fucking family. I think I'd earn a shot. I think I could do it. Outside that, nothing was different. Same old shit. Same old Bloodline ending to Smackdown, putting someone through a table. It's tough to get invested when it's the same thing. Same thing. Nobody's gonna be watching the show to see how this wraps up next week. We've seen this for 4 straight years, bro. You gotta give me something new. Thank you guys for all of your support. If you did enjoy today's stream, I would really appreciate it. I know we had a lot of discussion on the...
Well, I'm gonna